Hi everyone, this is Mr. Michael here with another Teton Literacy Center Club Chaos. Before we begin, I just want to remind everybody to please leave a comment with your child's complete name for our attendance. The grants we receive to maintain our free programs depend on the participation, so thank you. And now in Spanish, por favor deje un comentario con el nombre completo de su hijo para nuestra asistencia. Las subvenciones que recibimos para mantener nuestros programas gratuitos dependen de su participación. Gracias. So I just want to go over what Club Chaos is for people who might be tuning in for the first time, and welcome if you are. So what we're going to do during this video is we're going to read a book together. We're going to learn a little bit about the topic, and we're going to introduce a fun project. And our project this week and our topic is geology and rock candy. So today we're gonna have fun learning some vocabulary about rocks. We're gonna read a geology nonfiction book, and then we're gonna work on a project where we make our own rock candy. So I'm really excited. All right, so let me share my screen with you and we'll get started. So, did you know, this is what we're going to start our show with. Did you know that diamonds and rubies are forms of crystals? Snowflakes, which form in clouds, are also considered ice crystals. We're going to talk a little bit more about crystals in our vocabulary, and then again, while we start our project. So for our own activity, we're going to make our own crystals, but this time we're going to make them out of sugar instead of out of snow or rocks. So let's all get into the mindset to learn and to teach with another roller coaster breathing, the same activity that we've been doing for the past couple Club Chaoses. So we'll have our one hand out like this. We'll put our pointer finger at the base of our thumb, and we'll breathe in and then out. You can breathe with me. Ready? Now we'll do our other hand. It always helps to relax me and just get me in the mood for learning a little bit. So now let's talk about our vocabulary for the day. So our first vocabulary word, we have 3 vocabulary words today. Our first word is geologist. A geologist is somebody who studies rocks. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about a geologist while we read our book. A crystal, this is the geometric structure of the solid. So basically it's just the way that it forms. So when we're making our rock candy later in the lesson, we can talk about what the crystals for the rock candy looks like. And then our last vocabulary word for the day is saturated. Saturated means holding as much as it can basically. So this towel right here just got dipped in the water and it's holding as much water as it could possibly hold. So this towel here is saturated with water. So we'll review those really quick. So our 3 vocabulary words. First, geologist, somebody who studies rocks. Second, a crystal, which is just the way that the structure is formed. And finally, saturated, meaning holds as much as can be possibly absorbed. And we'll talk about another definition for saturated when we're making our rock candy as well. All right, now we're going to move into our read aloud for the day. So our read aloud today is Rocks and Minerals by Natural Geographic. And the author is Kathleen Widener-Zofeld. So, rocks are everywhere. Walk outside and look around. You may see rocks right under your feet. Are they gray, or black, or tan, or brown? They might be green, blue, white, pink, or even red. Or maybe they sparkle with lots of different colors. Pick up the rocks. Do they feel smooth or rough? Are they heavy to hold, or do they feel light in your hands? Rocks look and feel the way they do because of the minerals in them. Amazing minerals. All rocks are made up of minerals. Each mineral has its own special shape, called a crystal. Geologists have found many minerals on Earth. Some minerals are easy to find, others are hard to find. So these are two of our geology words right here. Crystal, the shape a mineral takes in a rock when the rock forms, and a geologist is a scientist who studies rocks. Here are some examples of minerals that are easy and hard to find. So quartz and mica and feldspar are easy to find. Emerald, sapphire, and gold are hard to find. So some rocks are made up of just one mineral, but most are made up of two or more. The mineral gold is often mixed with quartz. And more examples of this, limestone is just one mineral, and pegmatite is made up of many minerals. Now while we're going through this, you don't have to memorize any of the types of rocks. These are just a bunch of examples of rocks for you to see. Rock groups. Rocks can form in three different ways. So geologists put rocks in three groups: igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. Most of the rocks on our planet are igneous rocks. Igneous rocks begin to form deep inside the earth. Here, the rock is very hot. It's called magma. Magma turns into igneous rock when it cools. Sometimes magma slowly cools underground. When volcanoes erupt, magma pushes up from underground. Above ground, it cools quickly. Magma that flows in a volcano is called lava. Over here, there's some cool rocks, and it says that these basalt rocks in Ireland were formed millions of years ago by lava from a volcano. Here, if you've ever been to the desert, sandstone is made up of grains of sand. Sedimentary rocks that form when many small pieces of rock are glued together. So let's talk a little bit more about sedimentary rocks. Sedimentary rocks are rocks that are broken into small pieces by the wind, rain, and ice. These pieces are called sediment. Sediment is washed or blown into lakes and oceans. The sediment sinks. It builds up layers on the bottom. Minerals mixed in the water glue the rock together. This is one way sedimentary rocks are formed. And metamorphic rocks. On Earth, we stand on huge slabs of rock called tectonic plates. These plates are always moving, but most of the time we can't feel them move. When plates move past each other or crash into each other, the rocks are heated up and squeezed. This changes the rocks and they become metamorphic rocks. Let's talk about 7 cool rock facts. The ancient Egyptians built pyramids with limestone thousands of years ago. They still stand today. Number 2, diamonds are the hardest mineral on Earth. They can even cut steel. Number 3, the softest mineral in the world is talc. You can crumble it with your fingers. Number 4, some pumice rocks are so light they float on water. Number 5, the moon is mostly made of igneous rock. Number 6, a geode looks like a plain, dull rock on the outside. Crack it open and there might be beautiful crystals hidden inside. Number 7, obsidian feels as smooth as glass. Has anyone ever felt obsidian before? Just think to yourself. You could say it out loud if there's somebody next to you. The rock cycle. Our Earth is like one giant rock factory. Old rocks are breaking into smaller and smaller pieces. New rocks are forming all the time. On Earth, some things happen over and over again in the same order. This is called a cycle. So here's the rock cycle. You can pause it and take a longer look at this if you'd like to. So you have your sedimentary rocks that are moving from the plate smoothing, forming metamorphic rocks underground. Then at the Earth's center, we have a ton of magma. As that magma cools, it's creating igneous rocks, and the cycle continues. Fossils. Sometimes shells, bones, or other parts of living things get covered in sediment. Water seeps into tiny places in the bones or shells. Minerals in the water are left behind. The bones or shells turn into fossils. Fossils can be found in some sedimentary rocks. Gemstones. Gemstones have beautiful crystal shapes and colors. They're often made into jewelry. A diamond in a rock can be made into a dazzling ring. A ruby in a rock is cleaned and cut, then it is a gem. Here to stay. Look around you at the buildings and roads. Do you see rocks? They are everywhere. For example, bricks are made of clay minerals. Steps can be made of sandstone, and limestone can be used to make concrete for sidewalks. Has anyone ever been to Washington, D.C.? I have once. The walls of the Washington Monument are mostly made of white marble. The monument is the tallest stonework structure in the world. Many things we build with rocks will still be standing years and years from now. All right, now we're on our Stump Your Parents section. So let's everybody grab a piece of paper and something to write with, and we'll see if we can answer these questions correctly after listening to the book. So if you don't have a piece of paper yet, let's pause it until you can go grab a piece of paper because we're going to start the questions now. Number 1, what comes out of a volcano? You have A, pebbles, B, lava, C, sediment, and D, water. If you're writing your answers down at home, you could just write down one letter. So you could say number 1, number 2, and you can number your list like this. And then for your answer, I think that B, lava, is the correct answer for the first one. So I could just write it like this, and I know it's backward on my camera. So if you said B, lava for number 1, you'd be right. So let's talk about number 2. The cycle of old rocks turning into new rocks is called A, the mineral cycle, B, the sedimentary cycle, C, the fossil cycle, or D, the rock cycle. Let's take a moment to think about that. The mineral cycle, the sedimentary cycle, the fossil cycle, or the rock cycle. So if you said D, the rock cycle, then you'd be right. Number 3, what do you call a scientist who studies rocks? You can call one an astronomer, a biologist, a rock star, or a geologist. If you said D, a geologist, you'd be right. Number 4, in what type of rock can you sometimes find fossils? You have A, igneous, B, sedimentary, C, metamorphic, or D, lava. Igneous, sedimentary, metamorphic, or lava. Where can you sometimes find fossils? If you said B, sedimentary rock, you'd be right. Number 5, beautiful rock crystals can be made into A, glitter, B, rock candy, C, gems, or D, toys. If you said C, gems, you'd be right. What are rocks made of? A, minerals, B, seeds, C, living things, or D, wood. What are rocks made of? You said A, minerals, you'd be right. And finally, number 7, what gives a rock like this piece of malachite its color? A, minerals, B, paint, C, seaweed, or D, crayons. If you said A, minerals, you'd be right. All right. Now let's move on back to our PowerPoint. So now that we've done reading our book, let's answer this last comprehension question for our book. Why are geologists so important? Let's just think to ourselves really hard about it. And if there's an adult in the room or somebody else, you could turn and talk to the person about it. Why are geologists so important? What is a geologist? So just a reminder, a geologist is somebody who studies rocks, a scientist who studies rocks. So geologists are so important to tell us about all the rocks around us, rocks like magma and volcanoes. They can tell us all kinds of things, and they can help us make things with rocks too. Now let's talk about our project for the day. We are gonna make rock candy. So to make your rock candy, you're gonna need 1 cup of water, 3 cups of white granulated sugar, so not powdered sugar. You want it to be regular sugar. And then you're gonna need either popsicle sticks, some kind of wooden stick, or string. Other optional materials are food coloring. So the first step to making our rock candy is that you want to boil a little bit of 1 cup of water, your whole cup of water, into in a pot, and you want to slowly add your sugar after your water is boiling. To do this, you have to have a parent with you while you're using the stove and boiling water. As your water is boiling, you slowly add sugar until the water is fully saturated. So there's our vocabulary word, saturated. So what this means in this case is that we want to add sugar to the water until the water can't hold any more sugar. The way that we can do that is we can add about half a cup of sugar at a time until we notice that the sugar that we're adding isn't dissolving into the water anymore. So you're going to use more than 2 cups of sugar to do this, twice as much sugar as there is water, which is pretty crazy that water can hold that much sugar. But you probably won't use any more than 3 cups. And if you use 3 cups, that's going to be enough. So the next step, as your water is boiling, you can set up this step. What we need to do is we need to have a way to suspend either a string or a wooden stick in a glass or a mason jar. So what I did on the left for my rock candy that I made was I had coffee stirrers available to me. So I taped them together in this cross so that they would be suspended in the glass. And this is a picture of what somebody else did. They had a paintbrush, but you can also use a pencil. And they just tied a string to it and let the string hang down into the mason jar. So you can get that set up while your water is boiling. The other thing that you need to do with these sticks is that we need to give the sugar water something to crystallize on. So we need to initiate the start of the crystallization on the sticks. So to do that, you can just dip the sticks or the string in water and then roll it around in sugar. And after you do that, you'll see that there's going to be sugar attached to whatever surface you're going to grow your candy on. And this is really important to start the crystallization and to start the rock candy. So after I have dissolved all of my sugar in the water and poured it into my cups that I'm going to put the rock candy sticks in, I go ahead and just dip those in. It's important that they're suspended in the cups and not touching any of the surfaces, because if they're touching the surfaces, they're going to get stuck to it by rock candy. So you want to be able to pull it straight out and not have it stuck on too many sides. The last thing that we needed to do is that the crystallization process takes time. So we're going to need to wait about a week before the rock candy is all ready to go. But the fun thing is that we can take observations every day while we're waiting for our rocks to form. So every day you can just write down 1 sentence, maybe 2 sentences about what you see happening in your glass. And you can say, oh, I think there's more rock candy than there was yesterday. Or you can say, like, for example, here's my glass that I'm using. An observation that I would make about my glass right now is, wow, there's a lot of sugar that's building up on the side here. So I could write down in my notebook that I see that there's a fair amount of sugar building up on the sides of the glass. And then I'll make a note tomorrow if there's more sugar or less sugar than there was today. Thank you so much for listening. And you can always send your pictures of rock candy to michael@tetonliteracy.org. And I just want to, one more time before we end this video, I want to ask that we please put down a comment with our name, and a big shout out to people who are putting comments with their names. And I'm going to say it in Spanish again, just for our Spanish-speaking parents out there. Por favor, dejéis un comentario con el nombre completo de su hijo para nuestra asistencia. Las subvenciones que recibimos para mantener nuestros programas gratuitos dependen de su participación. Gracias. And thank you so much for listening. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.